I'm Mark Mattson. I'm an environmental lawyer and a waterkeeper. I'd like to thank Walrus and Labatt for giving me a chance to think about this question of why is water worth protecting over the last 2 weeks. It's been a challenging question, but I think I should start first with the question is why do we tolerate pollution? Because certainly you've heard a lot of that today from the speakers before you, and we do tolerate pollution. We tolerate it whether, as Mark de Villiers talked about, or Sam and plastics and lost rivers. We tolerate it as it relates here in Lake Ontario. We get no fish any longer for consumption from St. Lawrence Market. We have no fish for commercial sale. We have thousands of drinking water advisories across Canada as we speak today. A 5-year-old in Hastings County, a 10-year-old in Portugal Cove, Newfoundland, has never had a sip of water from a tap. We tolerate it in closed beaches, and we tolerate it in disappearing fish. And when we didn't tolerate it in 1970, when we took to the streets on Earth Day and we got our government to put in place science and laws and regulations, create ministries and agencies, we thought we might be going back in the right direction. But now, look at what's happened in the last couple of years. We've been losing all those protections. We've lost the Fisheries Act. It's been gutted that protected toxins from getting into our fish. The Navigable Waters Protection Act that protected your right to freely travel on our waters, as your ancestors did, has been rewritten. The word water isn't even in the Act anymore, in the title. The Canadian Environmental Assessment Act that protected your right to comment on decisions that affected your future. That Act no longer applies to major projects. So we tolerate pollution. And you have to ask yourself why. Well, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I think I can't answer the entire question, but I can say that I think a big part of the problem is that we're solving our pollution problems now by putting up no swimming, no drinking, no fishing signs. We think we're protecting our health, but what we're really doing is normalizing pollution. We're getting used to it. And Canadians are becoming afraid of their water and turning their backs on their water. And our government, when it recently decided that we don't need the laws, we don't need the science, we don't need environmental monitoring, many Canadians didn't realize just how deeply it was going to affect their future. So what are we going to do about it? And I don't have all the answers to that either. I might have thought I did back in Vancouver a week ago when I gave this speech. But you know, the longer you think about it, you only have a small piece of the answer, and I think I have that, and it comes from my own story. I recently watched the movie Watermark, and Edward Bertinsky was on stage, and the reporter, fascinated with the movie and wondering where a great genius of a movie comes from, and a man like him asked him wisely, Edward, Jennifer, who was the other producer, what's your most memorable or powerful memory of being on or near water? And he gave a great answer, and you'll have to hear him say that. But what happened to me is I immediately thought of my own. I immediately thought of my mother throwing me and my brothers and sisters in the car and driving off to Wolf Island, where we'd jump out of the car and go to the water and fish until it got dark. And we'd do that all summer long until we went back to school. Water meant freedom. And I remember thinking that Wolf Island taught me what it means to belong to a community, what it means to actually care about water and the people you live with. And I'll bet you, if every one of you think about your answer to that question, you'll think about the people and the places around water, and you'll have your own story. And when you find your story, your own unique watermark, two things happen. One, you realize your reason for caring about water is unique. It's hard for me to tell you why. It's deeply personal. And secondly, you realize that you're empowered to act. You're empowered to act. You can learn, you can participate, you can defend your water. And I know that is exactly what happened to me. I gave up my lifelong dream of becoming a lawyer when condoms and tampons and needles washed ashore on Wolf Island, and it threatened everything I knew and loved about those waters. So I became a waterkeeper. Now everyone's not going to become a waterkeeper, and you can see from the speakers before you, there are scientists and authors and journalists. And I know artists and poets and writers and painters They do their thing. But each and every one of them have the same personal connection to water that motivates them, that gives them their passion and their power. So the point of my talk today is, why is water worth protecting? Well, here's the answer. Because some water body somewhere is part of who you are. It shapes you as water shapes our culture as Canadians. And to do harm to our water bodies is to do harm to ourselves. We need to know the statistics and we need to know the facts. But it's your story, it's your watermark that matters. Clean water needs a community, and community starts with you. So the first step is to find your personal connection to water, and a swimmable, fishable, drinkable future becomes possible again. I promise. Thank you.